So Wendy's expertise is public relations, and for over two decades, she's had experience in public relations industry, having worked in the senior public affairs positions in corporate sector before launching Parker Public Relations 15 years ago. Since then, she's been working with organisations and individuals in professional services, health, technology, not-for-profits, property investment and environmental sectors, providing public relations, thought leadership and personal branding consulting and coaching services.
So firstly, why does influence matter? So obviously for businesses, it's very much about having that clean reputation. They need to be seen as trustworthy and perceived to have fabulous products that really stand out in the marketplace. Because let's face it, we've seen how scandal and unethical work practices can really impact negatively on an organization. We've had some great examples of this. We've had the good old Weinstein Company, which actually was once the darling of the film movement. And can you believe it produced over 80 Oscar-winning films? But thanks to good old Harvey becoming one of the most hated figures in the US, the company is practically tanked, although I understand now it's been purchased and has undergone a complete overhaul and, thank goodness, a name change. Now, in Australia, we haven't been immune from controversies thanks to terrible work practices, and this has been at Crown Casino. And these unethical practices have actually seen the Melbourne resort almost stripped of its gambling license. And it has very nearly derailed the opening of Barangaroo Resort. But I understand that things could be back on track and it's likely to open at the end of the year. Now, our other organization, which thanks to terrible work practices, has been Rio Tinto, which deliberately blew up a 46,000-year-old sacred site in the Pilbara. And sadly, its reputation is in tatters. Will it impact the business? Look, I guess time will tell in that regard. So why does influence matter? We've looked at why it's important to businesses, but why has it become increasingly important to individuals as well? Well, with the advent of social media and the gig economy, it's now widely accepted that the individual is the important selling point of a product or service. It's less about the organization, but absolutely about the individual. And so what we've seen is the uptick in personal branding. So the next question you're likely to ask me is, how do I build a personal brand and as a result of that, exert my influence? Firstly, it's very much about growing a very strong online presence. And what I mean by having a strong online presence is if you happen to Google your name, you need to pop up multiple times. It could be as a result of having a great website. It could be your social media presence. It could also be as a result of getting great publicity, being on the talk circuit, having authored a business book. So these are all brilliant ways of being able to build your brand and be seen. The other way of building a strong personal brand is having relevant content. And what I mean by relevant content is content that's topical and useful and valuable to your audience. And this really does help further cement you as an expert in your field. And often a lot of people say to me, should I, when I talk about topics, should I talk across a range of topics? And my usual response is stick to your niche. If you're an expert in a field, talk to that expertise. If you talk across the board, people are confused about what you actually do. So do stick to your niche. It's absolutely one of the best ways of building your specialization in your field and being known for a specific issue. So the big questions, I know we're talking about influence. So how does having a strong brand influence outcomes? Firstly, it builds your credibility and visibility with your customers. If you're constantly out there talking, providing useful information, if you're in the media, if you're being a wonderful conduit of information to your customers, you naturally in their eyes become a lot more credible. Having a strong personal brand also gives you greater access to the media. The media is always on the lookout for people who fantastic speakers, who experts in their field, who really are credible people. Equally, conference organizers are always on the lookout for people who know their stuff, who great talent for interviews, who are known experts and who they know would do a great job of headlining a conference. Now, being a visible expert also, interestingly, makes you much more attractive to boards, employers, and headhunters. Companies want to employ informed people who problem solvers, have fresh ideas, and who are innovative and inventive. And finally, having a strong brand puts you in a really powerful position to drive change in your industry. And that's, I feel, where a lot of thought leaders come into their own. They don't just come from nowhere. In the majority of instances, they've actually spent time building up their reputation and their profile. They sort of known for putting out quality content, and by being known and credible, actually almost gives them a license to push for change in the industry. And if they are a known and trusted quantity, people are more likely to listen to them and to actually follow their lead. So, need more help? What do? I provide the strategy, that's for PR as well as personal branding. I help people create their bios, both on their website as well as their social media profiles. I also set up systems to enable people to stay across what's being said in the industry. And this is really super important. To actually know what's happening in your industry and be able to talk intelligently to that. I also teach people how to engage effectively on social media, develop content. Probably I help them secure media coverage, as well as teach them actually how to do it themselves. I actually like to think that I'm a partner to the clients I work with, and I allow them to work at what they are strong at. And I actually fill in the gaps and help them do the stuff that they struggle to do, or in fact that they don't want to do.